Hello and welcome to the Super Rugby 2018 awards show brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for rugby predictions and opinion. And tonight it's all about opinion. Who needs predictions when the season's already over? Because, hey, 2020 hindsight makes things far too easy. So why would we want to predict about stuff we already know about? So, yes, it's all about predictions tonight, and it's going to be all sorts of fun and games. We'll do the boring stuff of player of the season, game of the season, and try of the season, all that kind of stuff, of course. But also, we'll do some more fun things like worst haircut of the season. And I already know there's 4 or 5 entries on that one, because let's be honest, Super Rugby players have got far too much time on their hands to do rubbish things like get rubbish haircuts. So, with that already underway, let me just talk to you about the guys who have got great haircuts. Hi Herman, how are you doing, sir? You're deadly silent. Now, I don't know if that's just me or whether I just can't hear you. I think you might be have got some sound issues, Herman. But we also
hello.
Ah, that's good. You're all good there now. And
all right.
Also, we have Shane. How are you doing, sir?
Good, thanks, Paul. How are you, mate?
Absolutely. 2 or 3 sheets to the wind, which means that we're going to have a fantastic show this evening. Because hey, it's always best when we don't know what we're going to do and we don't know where we're going. So that's part of this. This one, I'd say, those of you in the live chat, let us know the awards you think you would like us to kind of nominate somebody for and go with. But what we're going to do is we're going to do around the house with the people on the show, and we have a couple of people who may be joining us halfway through. So yeah, this show could be a bit fun and games as to who's on the show, and people drop in and drop out. And we'll just throw out different nominations there, and people will different titles there, and we'll all have fun throwing out nominations for it. But I want to start with one of the more silly ones here, and Tony, and we've already had. Let's hit off with this haircuts one, because worst Barnet of the season. On Facebook, Bailey has nominated Tony Pulu for the worst haircut. I want to nominate Will Genia for his fake dreadlocks at the beginning of the season. Shane, who have you got for any nominations for worst haircut of the season?
Well, look, I get a 1.5 every 6 weeks for my haircut. So from someone with little hair, I did once have a nice set of hair. Yeah, look, Elton Yancey's, I think, for me, with these down the sides, certainly gets my recommendation there. But
Alex Lovell, Alex is someone I actually work with. So Alex has nominated Stephen Moore for worst haircut of the season, which is a tad harsh.
He didn't play.
Andre, who any nominations for worst haircut of the season? And we still don't have Andre. Sorry, don't have Herman on voice. He might need to just pull his headphones off and just go for.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Excellent.
What? Alvin.
So, worst haircut of the season. Who are you going for?
No.
Okay.
No. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. First haircut. I think I'm with Shane here, and I even would take it as far as that's a non-contest for me. I mean, it should be who is the Jantis of a year, and it's obviously Elton Jantis, That's if you look in a dictionary for bad haircut in rugby, you will see Jantis. That's the meaning of it.
Oh, dear me. Christian's with you as well. Christian's there for Elton Yankees. Andre has in the chat has gone for Mr. Ardy Surveyor. Yes, Ardy has an interesting haircut as well. I'd also look at some other players such as Barracuda, Richard Buckman. His haircut is just like, well, that's not really a haircut. It's more it's just gone wild. and I'll just throw some sort of headband around to try and tie it together during a game as well. There's a few mullets around the place. Mr. Squires has had a mullet for a while. I'm not a mullet fan.
Yeah. Good that you mentioned Liam Squire, but he actually took away this what do you call it?
Yeah, the mullet.
The neck hair he had.
Jack's also an agreement with Artie Surveyor is a criminal of haircuts. Thankfully, thankfully we don't have too many rat tails in rugby. But I tell you, in rural New Zealand, you see plenty of those attending games, if not actually on the pitch themselves. So, I mean, Elton Yankees has got like 3 or 4 votes here so far. But to run through who we've got then. So, Artie Surveyor, Richard Buckman, Elton Yankees. Who else did we know? Will Genia, Stephen Moore, a tad harsh. But it sounds like the Yankees is taking it out. Or what do you boys think? Are we there with Yankees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dear me. So
Elton gets the gold.
Elton, congratulations. There will be a nothing in the mail for you for this. Maybe when we get sponsored next year to do these to do the awards, we'll have a wonderful thing on a spring with a microphone on the top, like the MTV Awards do, but not tonight. So moving on, something a bit more serious then. So game of the season.
Should I go?
Yep, off you go, Herman.
Yeah, I actually have this one. I gave a lot of thought, and weirdly enough, it was the first game of the season. Highlanders Blues. I still think that was the best game of the season. That was the only one was like full intensity for 80 minutes. There was no other game for the rest of the season. And funny, considering how Blues season ended up in, were like same old, but they looked really good in that game, and they were a tad bit unlucky to lose it. You remember like the rubber kick when just went out to the sideline and Rico was going like a train down the left side. And instead they got like a really lucky bounce next attack Highlanders and scored instead. But it was a great game.
Shane, any games that spring to mind for you?
Yeah, the Brumbies and the Rebels in Canberra was my favourite game of the year. And as we always like to say, an Aussie derby equals fight night, because it's a fight for gold jumpers, and we like to do things a little differently in the land of Oz, so that the kangaroos and emus. But that for me was a seesawing game. The Brumbies were on top, and the Rebels came back. There was only 3 points in it. The Rebels ended up getting the victory with about 90 seconds left, with a Reece Hodge penalty. And given that the Waratahs that night had dropped the game from 29 points up against the Crusaders, and there was some problems with Australian rugby that week, they certainly, 2 Aussie sides made up for it that night. And I knew that it's not all bad in the land of Oz. We can still play a derby against each other. It was a great game, and we got to listen to some great cover music afterwards as well. That was a great night all round.
Jack Knotts nominates the Hurricanes versus the Chiefs in the quarterfinals, and that was yes, especially, and that was a rare occasion where we get to see these clubs play back-to-back games. Which was really good, and so you kind of like, how have they changed their tactics week on week, and a few kind of stories behind the scenes that were kind of part of it, rather than just being the purely all about the game. So it was a bit more about that game, which was kind of good. Christian's nominated the Hurricanes versus the Sharks was a good game, and that's one I'll be honest, doesn't jump out in the memory. Does that jump out in the memory with either of you guys? The Hurricanes versus Sharks?
Yeah, it was Hurricanes scored after the Hooter and needed a conversion to win with 1 point. It was super tight.
Oh,
it was an exciting game.
That was an exciting game. There were a couple early on that I'm going to go blank as to who was playing, but someone played the Waratahs, and it was like a draw, or it was very tight in like the first 2 rounds.
We play away against the Sharks, I think.
The Sharks were away, and that the Waratahs were at home. Yeah, that's right. And the Sharks got like a draw.
No. The Waratahs draws was in South Africa.
Was it? Oh, okay. Well, There you go.
Yeah.
3 or 4 beers, and I'm anyone's. I can tell you. But there were those that was also a good one. The Witch King is calling out the Rebels versus the Sharks. Excellent for the Rebels. There on that game. Again, not one that actually sort of springs to mind for me. But
no, that game was much a blowout, if I remember.
From memory, Waratahs versus Sharks was a draw in South Africa. That's well done, Jack. Thank you. Or was it the Stormers who travelled and had 2 and were late on? Anyway, I'm all fingers and thumbs.
Waratahs beat the Stormers at home in the first round, like also scoring after the hooter Hannigan scored.
That's the one. Yeah. So I think that was a sign this was going to be a decent season, and that we're going to have a few games going down to the wire. So that to me what jumped out that we had had that game. Yeah, the Stormers did that game against the Tars, and the Tars really showed that actually they were going to be a team that was going to try right to the end of each game, and they got themselves, to say, all the way into the quarterfinals. Even though the Rebels early doors were racking up those 5-point wins, so that was a good sign for me early on. Anyone who mentions a Blues game as a Blues supporter, I'm sorry, no, that does not compute. Even though the only Super Rugby game I actually went to live this season was a Blues one. It was raining. We hid under the covers, and yes, something happened on the pitch. But hey, it was on my birthday, and the Blues lost yet again. So
they'll be right, mate.
So yeah, I refuse. The Blues Highlanders cannot win, or the Highlanders Blues cannot win because, absolutely, that's Blues losing again, and I'm just down on the Blues. So yeah, the games then, the Hurricanes Sharks one, or the Wallaby, or Sharks Wallabies, or sorry, which one was yours again, Shane?
Waratahs.
The Brumbies versus Rebels.
Brumbies versus Rebels. Those are the 3 that are up for votes.
If I may add on that, wasn't Highlanders Hurricanes also a really good game? Where Highlanders really played good in the second half.
And to come back to win, I think. Because, that was obviously being a New Zealand derby, it must have been a home win. Because that's what the law says.
Yeah, more or less.
There's actually an argument for Waratahs versus the Highlanders. The first Australian win against New Zealand side for living memory of most people.
Well, that was actually a blowout score as well.
Yeah, but I would say the quarterfinals between Waratahs and Highlanders, that was a pretty, because the Waratahs had like a magic 10-minute period there. That was also like, you didn't expect that kind of comeback from Waratahs. That's probably the game I'm going to nominate. Waratahs Highlanders, the quarterfinal.
So how are we going to go on this one then? There are just too many here what I'm going to say is, if we can actually name this many good games, it wasn't a bad season. Yes, it's an awful format. We hate the format. We hate conferences, yada, yada, yada. I don't, but that's the general story. But the reality is, we had lots of good rugby to watch. So at the end of the day, I think there's just too many good games for us to go down that route. So Herman, why don't you give us the next category?
Well, I would pick then, what is the biggest negative surprise of a season for you, Paul?
The Sharks. I know the Blues are awful, and they will be awful,
but it was no surprise.
But it was no surprise. Whilst I'm there as a kind of investor to go, yes, goes Blues, we're going to get some. No, we're not. and just get disappointed again. The Sharks are the ones that actually really did disappoint me. I really had the Sharks down as challenging the Lions this year, and they just never did it. Sure, they limped into the finals and they lost to the Crusaders, and that, yeah. But I really, really thought that the Sharks would be challenging the Lions at the top of the Africa Conference, and they just didn't do that. So that was my biggest disappointment of the season.
And you, Shane?
I agree with Paul. I think that the Sharks could have done a lot better. They certainly, I think we talked about it for quite some time during this year, that the Sharks have all the potential, and yes, they beat 3 New Zealand sides out of their 4 games, but they could have done a lot better in their own conference and against our sides even, and that isn't hard given the last few years. I shouldn't say that, but they could have done at least had 10 or 15 more competition points on the table there. So looking forward to seeing how they go next year. Hope it's a bit of an improvement on this year. So yeah, I'm with you, Paul, mate. I'm going with the Sharks.
All right. And when I signed up, Shark is a good call, but for me...
Also, I want to point out here, we don't have to talk about just teams here. Individual players can also be called out. It doesn't have to be just teams.
Yeah, can.
So, Shane, any individual players that kind of jump out of you that disappointed this season?
No, not really. Because...
Debrasini, come on. Debrasini is a player that was touted as a Super Rugby pivot, and he clearly wasn't by any stretch of imagination. Trying to build a Rebels team around the Debrasini was just he was also a serious disappointment this season. If you first choice fly half to be ousted by a winger, geez, that's a poor showing.
All right, but I will go with my biggest negative surprise of the season. It's a little bit harsh, but I will go Hurricanes, especially in the second half of the season. How they went from looking like title contenders to almost looking poor in the end. I think Hurricanes completely lost their way in the second half of the competition, and I think they lost 4 of the last 5 games too, which for Hurricanes is not good enough. Not for a team that you were expecting to challenge for the title.
No, some from the chat, and the Highlanders people were suggesting were disappointing this season. I think it's a little bit harsh. They're always the kind of guys who scrap through. Alex's one is an interesting one. Biggest disappointment was there wasn't really a team to challenge the Crusaders.
That's a good call also, actually. And I guess that's probably where I connect my Hurricanes.
Yeah, and we've lost your volume again, but this is saying that the fact that the Hurricanes were the closest that looked like early season to be challenging the Crusaders, and it needs to be at least a 2-horse race.
Yeah.
Someone's gone, Yankees were disappointing. It's like, well, not really. Yankees was just Yankees. So what do we got there? We've got no one could challenge the Crusaders. We've got the Sharks, and we've got. I've gone blank. How many you mentioned a team? I've just. You've lost his volume again.
The Hurricanes, he said.
And it's the Hurricanes' second half of the season. So, Andre's got an interesting one here. The Chiefs' injury list was disappointing. In some ways, I found that inspiring this season. In fact, the fact that the sorry, I've gone and jumped into another topic for later, and
the one I have there is Chiefs' remarkable depth.
We only got half of that, Herman, because obviously your microphone's not working tonight. We need to do some investment in your infrastructure. So we've got the Hurricanes second half of the season. We've got the Sharks, and and so we've got the no one challenging the Crusaders, and I think basically that second half of the Hurricanes and no one challenging the Crusaders were the same. So I'm going to go for that together. In fact, that the Hurricanes' second half of the season and not challenging the Crusaders was the biggest disappointment.
Agree.
Putting them together. Shane, do you want to give us a category?
Okay, well, I think we've got to go for the worst kit, or the worst kits.
Worst kit?
Actually, no.
Worst
I'll go for
kits.
worst kits of the season. The Lions. Their home kit was the same as their away kit, just kind of, if you're squinting, because one was red and white, one was white and red. It's the same kit. That's not an away kit. So my nomination is the Lions, home and away. But you can choose an individual one if you want to.
For me, this is a very tough category. There are a lot of options here, you know. I mean, we can never look past the Highlanders away dress with one like puke green or whatever color it is. But still, for me, being coming with a soccer background, to see the Bulls away kit that they're sporting like the Brazilian football team, I'm still not over that shock. You know, that was no rugby. Don't use Brazilian colors.
Now, okay, to be fair with the Bulls, they weren't using Brazilian colours. They were choosing the football team of their town. But
yeah, who choose the colours from Brazil?
Okay, fine.
If you're into soccer, that's Brazil's national team. You can't.
I'm going with Jack, though. I think the Bulls' home jersey is awful. Okay, we'll have blue on the front and white on the back. So anybody who's playing in blue or white is going to clash with us, depending on which the camera angle is. No! You have a shirt, it's a colour. Don't try and be someone different from front and back. That's an awful choice. So yeah, Blues home, I'm with Jack on that one. Blues home jersey was awful.
And you, Shane?
Well, I can remember a game between the Stormers and the Blues that had the worst two kits of the season, and you can only ask yourself, how can you differentiate between the sides? Imagine if the game was played in a mud heap. It wasn't. It was a beautiful day from memory, but the kit selections of both sides, did they not know before they came out? I couldn't tell the difference.
Shirt clashes. I'm going to go for another one with you. Any New Zealand rugby, any New Zealand reffing the Hurricanes. If you're in yellow and the Hurricanes are in yellow with black shorts, you're going to look the same. No. Okay, I understand it's Specsavers and their colours are yellow, but any reffing any New Zealand reffing the Hurricanes was also an awful kit choice.
Well, but the tricky thing about this category, I think it's going to be hard to pick a winner here. There's way too much competition in this category. We're going to go for a draw here, I think.
Okay, so go on then. It was. No, Shane. It was your.
Since Bulls got two nominations, both for the home dress and away dress, we got to give it to the Bulls, I guess.
Shane,
I'm with Herman.
This is your category, Shane. Your choice.
Yeah.
Who's the winner?
Oh, look, I'll go with Herman. I mean, the kit clash in the South African game of that night was terrible, but I think the yellow Bulls. Yeah, I'm with you, mate. I agree with you, Herman. I think that was the best kit of the year.
Okay, so I'm going to go a bit boring as it's my turn now. We had a couple of fun ones, but Coach of the Year. Herman?
Well, really hard to look past Scott Racer in this category, the Crusaders Racer. So I make it simple. I pick Racer.
Shane?
I've deliberated long and hard all afternoon about if I got this question because it's not an obvious choice because Mario Ledesma.
Yeah, good call. That was
the Hawaris. On the fact that will actually, I'll go with Mario. Razor is a fantastic coach and he deserves the accolades at the Crusaders, but the work that they have done at the Juarez over the last year has been unbelievable. And well done, chaps, on your first final series. You had to play the old school Australian way to get there, and you know, obviously Mario's work at with the Wallabies has probably taught him some of those game styles. So yeah, I'm not going to go past Mario.
Another guy, I think Jamie Joseph with the Sunwolves. He's done a very good job getting those wins against the Reds, the Bulls. The Reds, the Stormers, and the Bulls on the trot was really good. So I think they've had a good season with their coach. So I want to give him a nomination as well. And Andre, do you have to do this? I mean, I'm not sure I can actually say this, but Sayers de Bruyne from Lions. Yeah, exactly. And as Herman's microphone cuts out halfway through to make it sound like he actually is saying the right thing. Sayers de Bruyne for the Lions. Hey, he made the final, just for the third year on the trot, which is impressive. But there were some really dubious games along the way. Losing to the Blues at home, I think, are they the only team that lost the Blues at home? Because the Blues had an awful season.
Nearly losing to the Sunwolves.
Only beating the Sunwolves by 2 points at home. Again, it's another. They had some pretty dodgy results for the Lions, but they did make the final. So at the end of the day, they did get there. Alex has got a nomination for Blackadder. But obviously, clearly, he's living in the previous years, because Bath had didn't have an awful season, but didn't have a particularly good season this season. If we're going to add those sort of people in, I'll nominate. I've gone blank. Jeez, this is my team as well. Clearly, I've had far too many beers. But Baxter for Exeter Chiefs, definitely, and there are a few other people we could name. But as a Super Rugby show, I think it comes down to Razor or Mario Ledesma, really. I say a couple of others we mentioned there, but it comes down to those two. I'm going to back, as it's my choices, it's my category. Mario, congratulations, you have received the Super Rugby Coach of the Year award from the Driving Maul.
Well done, old mate.
Herman, your category next. And if you wiggle your bit, you will have some sound. So we're going to skip Herman while he has technical difficulties with his with his tie headset from the market, and we'll jump to Shane. Shane, what's your next category?
I'd be looking at who was the best player, the most valuable player for the year.
Best player or most valuable player of the year? Because they're slightly different.
I think we'll go with best player first.
Oh no, most valuable player is much more.
Most valuable player.
Most valuable player. I'm going to nominate Will Genia as the most valuable player because I think he totally destroyed when he got injured. The whole Rebels playoff run just crumbled without him. And when you got someone like Debrasini outside him, he was more valuable than I think he was the most valuable player to any team in the league. So my nomination. So second nomination here: worst hair and most valuable player for Genia. Herman.
Oh, what? No? Can you hear me now?
I can. Yes. We need to buy you a new laptop and a new microphone. And don't say no, because we do need to buy you a new laptop and a new microphone, because it's true. Okay, Shane. Well, Herman decides to play technical buggers. Why don't you give us your MVP of the year?
Richie Mo'unga from the Crusaders.
Good call, sir.
Led from the front, from round one to the final. The man's a great 10. I know the All Blacks have got an abundance of 10s. We've only got one here in Australia. But I think he would be an asset in any side, and particularly the back-to-back Crusaders, a very talented 10, had a great season, and that's my call for most valuable player.
No, very good call. And whilst Herman's lips move and no sound comes out, well, I'll continue. From the live chat, Christopher has gone and mentioned Michael Leach as an MVP. I mean, it's rare to get a forward now to get nominated in these kind of categories, isn't it?
It is, but he led from the front for his Sunwolves lads, and look, he ought to be proud of what his lads have done this year, particularly the talent they've started to build at that club. So yeah, look, certainly out of left field, but good on Leachy. He did all right.
Yep, more lips moving from Herman, and he needs to take his headset off and just throw it away. Lamapi has got a nomination there, and for someone who's been dropped from the All Blacks, yeah, I don't think that's a good nomination. But
hello.
Yep, go for it, Andre. Sorry, go for Herman while we've got you. Yep, no, we've lost you. And Andre mentions the monster lock Brodie Retallick. He has had a fantastic season.
Well, what can you say about this man? He gets in the work in the defence. He dominates the mauls. I'd love to see him and Adam Coleman in the same team, big blue collar enforcers. Just imagine those two in the side. Retallick was outstanding. He's the best lock in the competition. And he's the best lock in the world.
Okay, Herman, just take your headphones off, pull the plug out, just use the laptop microphone. So, we're looking at that. So we've got Richard Mo'unga, we've got Michael Leach, we've got the Brodie Retallick, and we've got Herman back. Not quite. So, and also Bulgania. Go on, Herman. Yep, we're just there.
Here now.
You're faint, but go for it. No, you're not. Okay. So, Shane, you have to nominate. Who are you going to go for? This was your choice of.
Congratulations to Richie Mo'unga. I think, the MVP, and well deserved, mate. You're a great 10. I know it's hard with the abundance of talent there, but I think if I had to be an All Black selector, you would be playing 10 against the Wallabies in the next week and a half. And certainly on a fantastic season, you deserve it.
We can very, very faintly hear you, Herman, but we haven't got enough to actually hear what you're actually saying. And unfortunately, The
Let's try.
yes, we can hear you now. Go for it. Now we could hear you. Unfortunately, you've dropped out again. So worst game of the season, Shane.
Well,
You hear me now?
Yep.
Yep. All right. Best player of the most valuable player. I'm just to confirm. I'm with Shane there, Richie Moanga, and the stat I want to use to prove that he was the most valuable player. But he was injured for 7 games for the Crusaders, and they scored on average 15 points less for every game he was out. So when he was playing, they scored 40 points on average. When he was not playing, they scored 25 points on average. That's the most.
Wow,
That's
we've
the
got
most valuable
facts in this
player
on the show. Well, opinions and
And just to come back to what I heard before from that someone was nominating Michael Leach. He had a solid season, but he was by far not most valuable player even the Sunwolves. But who the most valuable player in the Sunwolves, we will come back to soon, or maybe even right away with the next category.
go on then. You hit us with the next
Next category is most underrated player in Super Rugby.
Damon McKenzie. So many people are bashing him, saying he can't play 10. He can. He's a fantastic 10. So that's my kind of joking one there. Shane?
most underrated player.
Yep.
Well, I think in terms of the underrated, this is a hard category actually, because there's so many you could mention. But
you're allowed to.
I want to go.
It's okay. You don't have to keep yourself to one. We can. We've got another 3 or 4 hours to go, so you've got plenty of time to run through players.
The ice cream will melt. I'm going to go back to the Canterbury Plains and say my mate Ryan Crotty. I think that
the guy who's
underrated.
Underrated.
I think
the best 12 in the world is underrated.
And I mean that respectfully. He's people forget the amount of work that fellow does on the field to help the Crusaders win back-to-back titles. An absolute thrill to watch Ryan with his very creative running style, his creative way to get to the ball to his other backs. So. I'm going to go with Ryan Crotty.
So, Herman, are you going 10 or 12 for your underrated player from
Yeah, I already gave away. It is a Sunwolves player who is the most underrated player in Super Rugby, and my pick is Michael Little.
Oh,
he hasn't put a foot wrong all season, in my opinion. He's been absolutely stellar. And how the hell the Blues could let him go? Only Blues can do a thing like that. Only the Blues.
Look, come on. Anyone who leaves the Blues and plays for someone else plays better somewhere else. So automatically you look better by leaving the Blues. Talking of the Blues, Spencer's gone and named Ikiriawani as most underrated player.
Yeah, he's up there, but I think it's very few people who actually tell that he's like a class player. I think most people are very aware of that he has serious flaws in his game. Basically, with ball in hand running straight, he's the best in Super Rugby. But when you see his tackling stats and his passing stats, he's probably the worst 8 in Super Rugby. I'm using stats again. What's wrong with me? This is your thing, Paul.
No, absolutely. You're totally the stats man tonight. Rob Thompson is another one that's been mentioned by a couple of people in the chat. Some people saying he was the best, the best centre in Super Rugby, and not to be picked by his national side. George Bridge, another one from Jack Darby, has mentioned as well. Who is up there? It's got to be someone from South Africa who's been underrated, surely. Can we not come with anyone from South Africa?
Well, but no, maybe not. No. Trying to think of any.
Is Lamapi underrated? I mean, is he? There's a Springbok centre who's. Do we say that actually he is too much of what's going on at the Reds there? Oh, sorry, the Lions there, and that's not his skills. So potentially there, but Shane, we're lacking someone from Australia actually who's underrated.
That's every week, Paul. Look, I think someone that didn't get as many accolades, that doesn't always get the accolades, but really put in the effort this year and really put in a good effort was John O'Lance from the Reds. Which
really?
Used to be my side.
Really? I was actually thinking about nominating him for most negative surprise of the season, because he was all the talk about now we finally got a real 10 in the Reds,
Well,
come on. When he played fullback, he did all right, but when he played fly up, he was terrible.
Well, I tend to look at it this way. I mean, first half of the season, yes, he did play 10 and there was some mixed results there, but when Hamish Stewart was blooded, and he will be blooded, sorry Quade, find another job. He will be our 10 for the next few seasons, Hamish Stewart. John O'Lance fired up at fullback and was almost playing the role of a second 10 and teaching this young kid how to fit into that 10 position. And I thought he did quite well. So there you go, Jono. Most underrated Aussie player of the year.
Right, Paul.
RG Simon from South Africa. Also from South Africa, actually, I've gone blank. The Stormers guy who played fly half sometimes, but also played fullback and winger. Oh, I've gone blank. But steps in for Williams. I thought he did pretty well and was pretty much an underrated player this season. Oh, Lee. So underrated, I can't remember his name.
Dylan
Lades. There we go. So I think he was underrated, and the fact that he covered a lot of positions.
That's a fair call.
A lot of positions for the Stormers this season, and steps in for some of the harder games to cover for Williams, especially on tour. I remember him playing fly half in New Zealand, so I thought Williams, perhaps an underrated player there. So Herman, this was your category. So who are you?
If it's my call, obviously I'm going to say congratulations, Mikey Little. You're the most underrated player in Super Rugby.
So we didn't manage to persuade you away from your choice.
Paul, if I may, let's continue in the same spirit and take the other one, the most overrated player in Super Rugby this season. Now it's going to get spicy.
Most overrated player in Super Rugby. Any All Black Crusaders prop, because they just get themselves red carded and or yellow carded and banned for some games, or they're injured. They don't get to play enough games.
I can lead the way here. What I think something that grown during this, especially in the second half of the season, and it's a little bit connected to the Hurricanes' loss of form. But I think Jordy Barrett has been the most overrated player this season. His second half of the season, I haven't seen him do anything good, really.
Jordy? No. Well, Ben Lamb.
Jordy Barrett, I think, he's not been performing at all, and it still has, he hasn't really been called out for it. I mean, Bowden gets called out with actually not playing bad. It's just that Richie Mwanga plays really, really well. But Jordy's just completely flying under the radar, and he's playing much worse than Bowden doing at the moment.
Now, Ben Lamb, I'd agree. Ben Lamb for the Hurricanes was fantastic whilst Hurricanes are playing well and giving him space, but just went disappeared off the radar as soon as he wasn't given the space. So I think Ben Lamb was overrated running into the June internationals. But Geordie, I think it's a bit harsh. But Ben, because he's been asked to play 13, but not given the consistency of time there to play it. If we're going to talk Hurricanes, Vince Arso, he seems to get dropped as soon as everyone's fit. But to me, he's a fantastic centre, and yet doesn't get to can't cement that 13 jersey when Proctor's available or anyone else available. He just seems to be the guy that sort of fills in to give everyone else a rest. Shane, who have you got for most overrated player?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think that there's... when you look at most New Zealand sides, you think there's a level of consistency there that...
Actually, that's right, I'm going to break up here. Arse's a good player. Actually, yeah, Arse's underrated rather than overrated. I've gone the wrong way with Arse there. Yeah, you're right. I'm thinking Arse's underrated because he's not getting played rather than overrated. You're right. Yeah, sorry. Go on. That's me being stupid. Sorry, Shane.
But I think when you talk about overration in these days, or over ratio to be precise, to make the mathematicians and statisticians happy, I guess there was a few in the Melbourne Rebels that you could sort of call out for being a little overrated by perhaps our commentators, and I guess you'd mentioned probably Debrasini was one.
Wow,
a big disappointment. Disappointment.
Yeah, he wasn't anywhere near that kind of level. But are we allowed to overrate someone like in the Reds who decides who's captain of the team and then gets himself a red card in that second game?
Higginbotham.
Is it overrated to get yourself carded, so to be given the trust of the coach and then to get yourself red carded pretty much at the start of the season? Would that be? I'm not sure if that counts you into this category of being overrated, where you're expected to be that your coach has said, "You're my leader of men. Go forth, sir," and he does go forth and gets sent off.
Yeah, was it like in the 11th minute, wasn't it? In the first game.
It was a bit earlier than that. Well, with Scotty, mate, I didn't need to have my hair cut that week because I pulled it all out because I was like, here we go again. Look, I think he probably had a lot of injuries as well this year as well, so as well as the suspension. Wasn't really talked about too much, other than he's back from injury. Certainly played okay when he was on the field. So
yeah, perhaps a bit harsh, but to be given captaincy and go do something stupid like that, and within the first quarter of your captaincy is a little bit shameful. Andre reckons Lima Sapuang. I think it's a bit harsh.
Yeah, that's harsh.
We've got a Bono Foley. I think it's a tad harsh as well. Maria McKenzie. I think that's supposed to be Marty McKenzie. Yeah, he's not as good as your younger brother. End of story. He's not. It's a bit harsh there for.
But he's reliable.
He's reliable, but yeah, he's no. Yeah, I don't think anyone's thinking that he's his brother. I hire West by Jack, overrated. It's overrated by the fact that actually he's being picked up by a European team. Yes, absolutely. He's getting way overpaid.
Where's he off to? Actually,
congratulations, sir. If you can get that money, then well done. But how that happened, I've got no idea. Anyone who's just Matt Duffy Duffy's a fine player. He has got played out of position. He's a winger. End of story. He's not a fullback. And that's more a symptom of the Blues than the fact of him being overrated. So
you can do the pick here, Paul. You choose the winner.
Oh my God!
I give you the honor.
I was trying to remember everyone has been said. That's my highest problem.
You nominated Ben Lamb from the beginning.
Actually, yeah, come on, yeah, Ben Lamb.
Probably a good call, actually.
Totally disappeared. He was my second. Was he my second choice? I think it was my second choice. I think I nominated someone else earlier, but Ben Lamb was someone who just disappeared. Once the structures weren't in place to look after him. I'm comfortable with that one.
Ben Lamb, congratulations! You're the most overrated player in Super Rugby.
The award is not in the post because there isn't one yet. Next year when we have big sponsors, we'll produce these things and we'll send them out. So for those of you who don't know, so there's Chris Evans is a radio and TV presenter in the UK, and one year he was awarded some sort of MTV award for being like worst presenter or whatever, and so he phoned up after and said, "Where's my award, please send it to me." And they're like, "We don't have them for the worst ones. We just don't think anyone really wanted them." He's kind of like, "No, give it to me. Come on, you've awarded me it. Send it through. I want to see it in the post." So sorry, Ben Lamb. If you do call, I'll print you something off if you really want it to, but otherwise, yes. We're not sending these out unless requested by the players.
More categories?
Me? Is it my turn?
I got loads of them.
You're like, go on, carry on then, haven't you? This is your show.
All right. Okay, biggest non-rugby issue of the year, but what's talked about in rugby circles.
Does refereeing count? Or
that's rugby related.
That's rugby related.
Yeah.
Conferences, or is that rugby related as well?
I guess so.
That's rugby related still. Oh, geez, I'm. Whoa.
Maybe to make it more easier for you, because I choose this category and maybe it's not crystal clear, so I tell you first who I nominated, and then you can build from that.
You go first.
Okay?
Yep.
Folau-gate, Israel's Folau-gate. He's twittering about the gay people. By far the biggest talking issue this year, but didn't have anything to do with rugby, but everyone was talking about for like 2-3 weeks.
Not only have you got to give us a category that's hard to define, and then you go, well, here's the atom bomb. Boom. You could give us here's a hand example, and then I'll give you my real nomination afterwards.
You feel like created a category just to talk about Israel's Folau-gate twittering, eh?
Pretty much.
Well, come on, it's a fair call. It was a big talking issue. A lot of talk about it for a while, wasn't it?
No, I'm totally. Yeah, no, you're right. The biggest off-field issue was probably that. But
it's interesting how it completely disappeared after 3 weeks. I mean, it was the only thing everyone was talking about for 3 weeks, and then it just died like that, and no one has mentioned a word about it since then.
Yeah, no, and it's kind of funny how I got a couple of tweets from people in the UK who were watching a Super Rugby game with the Crusaders versus the Waratahs soon after that, and they're like, "Yay! We must support the stadium music guy for playing YMCA during the Crusaders Waratahs game." And I'm like,
yeah.
Sorry guys, they play that every game. This is New Zealand. We have lots of really old music they play during games. This was not a trolling of Folau. This was just standard music. And they were like, yes.
I wish the Crusaders would have taken it longer. Like instead of only playing YMCA, you should pick up. You can easily Google the 10 gay anthem songs, for gay parties, and that's the ones I'm gonna pump full game when Israel Folau is in town. What is it like? It's raining men, hallelujah! It's
and Kylie and a few things from the Communards, but also
I think it's.
Go on, Shane.
As the Australian here in this one, because I saw this firsthand. I'm not going to go into what Israel's said or not said or what have you, because it's a special discussion. We've had our debates on these things. What I will say is, respectfully, I pay huge respect to Brad Weber and TJ Perinara, who came out in support of the community. The general aspect is that rugby union's a very inclusive sport. I don't want to comment politically on what Rugby Australia should or shouldn't have done. And let's not forget that I don't think anyone at all thinks that Israel's not a talented athlete. He is, I think, the best fullback in Super Rugby.
Agreed.
And on an equal level with Ben Smith.
But I think this season he's surpassed Ben Smith, at least in Super Rugby. Folau has been better than Ben Smith this season in Super Rugby. I mean, I'm a massive Ben Smith fan. I've been going on last 4 years. I think he's been the best player in the world. If you looked at inconsistency, never ever bad. But Folau has just been stunning this season. There's no denying it. And Ben Smith, still has a little bit catching up to do to reach his peak form, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, there's this is supposed to be a light-hearted award show, but yeah, you're right. There's no denying Flowers' ability on the pitch. We just don't agree with his opinions off the pitch. The other one that actually appeared off the pitch, and Australia does seem to be hogging this award. Was early doors. Was a certain player for the Reds and getting caught with something that may or may not have been in his pocket, or was in his friend's pocket, walking down. Was it cocaine? Was it not? Or was it in his friend's pocket? That was also another off-field distraction this season as well. So Australia seems to be. I've gone blank as the player's name.
Carmichael Hunt.
Carmichael Hunt. There we go. Carmichael Hunt, and the Reds do seem to sort of go, who is the guy that's going to make a mistake on the Gold Coast? Because the previous season we had their captain being in jail for getting in a scuffle on the Gold Coast, and it does seem to be now that the Reds, somebody has got to go out, have a few beers, do something wrong on the strip, and yeah, Carmichael Hunt was the one for this season.
Yep.
So that was another off-the-pitch discussion. The other one also has got to be the selection or non-selection of Quade Cooper and playing.
Yeah, man,
the biggest sort of off-the-pitch story is who is the most highly paid club rugby player in the world, and that's got to be Quade Cooper, as in who gets paid more than all his teammates put together. Has got to be Quade Cooper, surely. No one else has got to come anywhere near that kind of level.
Well, I think he's enjoyed, ironically enough, the club rugby scene this year. And it's not that Brisbane club rugby needs good crowds, it gets that anyway, but it's probably got a further couple of hundred people to games because some high-profile Reds have had to play club rugby this year because of some things that Brad Thorne's put in place at the club. Look, I think at the Reds, Hamish Stewart is our new 10, and I think that's a player that we want to develop up for the next few years. Now,
I totally agree, Shane. And there's on the light-hearted front, I think this is the biggest stories have been Quade Cooper not being selected, Carmichael Hunt having obviously getting caught with something in his pocket or maybe in his mate's pocket, but which got a bit messy at the beginning of the season, and on the Carmichael Hunt one front, it's kind of like, seriously, mate, you've been caught once. Getting caught, once, shame on me. Or once shame on you, twice shame on me is kind of the one with him. And then there's also the Israel flag. But this does seem to be Australia has definitely the off-field issues. We've not had handbags in New Zealand like we've had previously, which have been fun. And South Africa seems to have somehow kept pretty quietly off the pitch. They seem to have quietened down we've not had the kind of quota issues being spouted, or our teams off to Europe, our teams not off to Europe. Actually, I guess that's the second one is extra teams off to Europe.
Yeah, but I think it's going to get an even bigger issue next season. I still think we're waiting to see like the big talk about that still. It
does seem to have been mainly on that sort of front. New Zealand seems to have survived which should have been a topic this year but hasn't been, is kind of the loss of players to Europe, because that has that's been speeding up this season, and there's been some pretty I guess low profile but high impact losses into Manavalu, etc. We were starting to see them. I think I saw today on Twitter that one of the Brumbies wingers, I've gone blank.
Tony Pulu.
No, not Tony Pulu.
No, that's the new one. There's another one going to Ulster first.
No, so Pulu's come to the Brumbies, but the Brumbies have lost Spate to
Ulster. But it's only a 3 month. It's only a 3 month deal. He would be back to Super Rugby next season.
It's only a 3 month deal. Okay, that's okay. I didn't get to read the whole thing. So I think the European thing should have been a bigger story this year than it has been. But I think Quade Cooper has been definitely the longest running one. And a hat tip to Quade. You have dealt with it with a large amount of humility and what's the word I'm looking for? You dealt with it very well, because all of us were basically sat here waiting to see Quade throw his toys out the pram and have a bit of a giggle. But Quade really has shown his character this season, more perhaps than any other season, in the way that he's played club rugby and has dealt with this situation, because he could really have thrown his toys out the pram. But no, hat tip to Quade. He's done very well this season. Well,
he could have used the old Barry Fry analogy for all the football fans and said, "You're having a laugh, ain't you?" and really, he could have gone and, as you say, thrown the toys out of the cot and, said the things like he said a few years ago about the toxic culture with Robbie Deans and so forth. I think that's shown the maturity of Quade Cooper, how far he's come over the last few years as well, and how far he's grown as an individual. And I actually do say respect to Quade for that. He could have, it takes a lot of effort to be a Red, and obviously, and a Wallaby, and to have represented your country on close to probably 70 occasions. So, I don't know where he goes next. Certainly, he'll have to think about those sort of things during the off season.
So, as a Blue supporter, in the last off season, I was like, no, please do not bring him to the Blues. This will be an absolute disaster. He doesn't cope well with getting booed, and if there's any place where we know he's going to get booed, it's going to be at Eden Park, especially around a bunch of players who are not really doing very well. So being in a losing team at Eden Park, he is going to be an absolute lightning rod for criticism. But this off-season, there's been a quiet rumour, and it's not been a very... probably won't come about, it's etc. But him going to the Highlanders, I don't think would have been actually that bad a move. But that's one that's been kind of quietly mentioned. I say it's gone off the radar, but and I don't think it really will happen. But him to replace Sopawanga at the Highlanders, I don't think would have been a bad option. Because, as you say, the maturity he's shown this season, the fact that the Highlanders take on players who are not wanted elsewhere and they play better, and overall, I think that wouldn't be a bad option for him. But I can't see it really happening. If it does, well, I could see it being going well actually for him.
Well, Dunedin's my favourite place in the South Island in terms of the city variety. It's a great city. It's an old Scottish city with some great history there, and it's a great place to play rugby with a great rugby history. And I actually think if I was the Highlanders coach, I'd be tabling a couple of years to Quade and saying, come on, mate, you might enjoy your rugby down here. There's not the pressure atmosphere of Brisbane. There's not the pressure atmosphere of, because we've got 4 sides on the East Coast. Even, with the work that Twiggy Forrest's doing, why not have a run with the Western Force? That's another option as well. I mean, don't put your eggs in one basket. And that would be my general advice as a rugby fan and someone that's a Reds fan who does respect Quade's contribution to our club. That there are some great clubs out there like the Highlanders and Western Force who would kill to have a 10 like that in their side.
And Chris has gone and said Quade should go to the Rebels. Now, okay.
No. No.
Now, it's not so much going to the Rebels, it's going to Melbourne. Okay? There are way too many distractions in Melbourne for Quade. Look what happened to Danny Cipriani. Look what happened to Quade Cooper. So not Quade. So what happened to James O'Connor. Look what happened to Beale there. No, I don't think that Melbourne would be a good place for Quade. Dunedin is much quieter, has about the 10th of the population, and as much as Shane likes it, nothing to do.
Relatively speaking, boys.
Yep,
boys, we cannot talk about Quade Cooper for 10 minutes in the Super Rugby show of a year, Come on.
No,
leave
exactly.
Quade now.
We can dedicate at least half an hour to him. But so briefly, I think the Highlands would be great because there's nothing for him to do down there. There's no distractions, and he'll have a good coaching setup. The Rebels, God no, the worst place in the world for Quade to go. Cool. So what was the topic again? Are we on most disappointing player or something? No. No. Biggest off-field story. Quade Cooper. It's run all season long. It's still going. And Herman's frozen. Shane, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there, mate. I think, look, the Quade, I'm in the greens. Quade Cooper's the biggest story. It's still there. Hopefully we'll find a conclusion to that story.
No. I'm sorry. The Quade story is going to run for another 4 or 5 years before he retires, and hopefully he can cope with it. And we'll go. All right. So Herman, next topic. Next topic.
Yep. Let's move on. What shall we go for this time? All right. It needs to be done. So we can take 2 in 1 here. Best and worst referee in Super Rugby this season.
Oh God! I see. I actually don't remember the names of referees as to who they are, which doesn't help me.
Well, we move on to Shane then.
Look, obviously, I think that the hallmark has been Angus Gardner, and he deserved the Super Rugby final. But a huge vote of thanks to Rasta Rasavange from South Africa as well. I think both of those referees, Angus and Ruster, are top quality. They do very well in games. They're very patient. They know how to say it how it is when the handing of cards needs to come out, and some tough talk. And look, for me, those two were the pallbearers. I know when I started on Twitter, I used to rant a bit about referees. That was just to test the Twitter system to see if it worked. It did. So I'm not actually anti-referee.
No,
I think
the whole point of this channel is, well, it's not the whole point, but one of the kind of points of the channel is we don't like to throw referees under the bus. I think Angus Gardner had a good season. Referee who was thrown under the bus the most was the referee who had the New Zealand-France first game, who was having a fantastic game up until the fact that he didn't TMO one decision that he got wrong. And it was amazing how one decision can throw your entire opinion of a game. So I've gone blank as the guy who it was, but it was like his.
He was an English guy. It was his test debut. I don't remember his name, but he's been really good in the Premiership all season. But he didn't only make one mistake. He probably made two, and you can even argue it was three mistakes. Because because he gave it the yellow card to a French player was wrong, and he didn't use a TMO for it. And then he also missed to yellow card Sam Kane, and he also missed a red card Uafasi.
Yeah, but he was doing it. He was first yellow card. He was having a great game, and then it seemed to fall apart.
Yeah, but he was actually great after that too. But it was just he missed two situations basically, but they were pretty key, both situations. But I'm with you completely that we should not throw referees on the bus, and we usually don't do. This is just more like first of all, my call for best referee of the year, I agree with Shane here. Is Angus Gardner. He's really, really improving. I also like what Shane Messer Rastafari. I'm actually a bit sad that Sansar doesn't give him more games, Rastafari, because what he and Gardner have, what I like. Also the Japanese referee, Kubo, who also gets surprisingly few games. What I like with those three is they are so calm. It seems like they are 100% sure about the rules and the laws of the game. And what I like probably most best is the report with the players. They never get too excited. They never get too emotional. They are so calm. They're so almost like a school teacher. Not like the Nigel Owens one who preaches to you. Right? We're having a very good report with the players how to get through their message. So,
and actually, you talk about that kind of thing, the confidence around the rules. Angus Gardner in the Super Rugby final, the most high pressured game of the season. There's a kick downfield. The ball does it drop short of the line? Does it touch the line and then drop back out again?
It didn't touch the line.
Yankees then picks it up, puts it back, and touches it down. And they're all going, go to the Seaman. And Angus Gardner's like, no, this is the rule. This is the rule. And there's as you say, the supreme confidence around the rule. And there's a lot of us going, oh, we're not quite sure here because we think it's this, we think it's that. We've watched a lot of rugby, more than is healthy, let's be honest. And we watch that situation and go, ooh, interesting. He's like, no, this is the rule, bang, bang, bang. You're like, yeah, that supreme confidence around the rules amongst people who, okay, I'm not taking a coaching course, not taking a refereeing course to anywhere near his level, or any refereeing course. But even so, I've watched a lot of rugby. I think I pretty much know the rules on the whole, but there are still those little ones there where I'm like, oh, maybe interesting. But he was like, bang, and he got it right straight away. And that. But kind of also, I want
extra shout out to Angus here. Also, this is from the last season, but also in a way contradicts what he said. Just being supremely confident about when he got it wrong. When TJ Pernara corrected him, but what I like with him there is actually. He's so confident in his knowledge, but he knows when he's wrong, he has no problem admitting it at all. He doesn't make it a prestige. And he's like this, goes one time he's wrong. Oh, yeah, I'm wrong. I'm sorry, mate. Which is also for me, it's perfect. But that's what you want from a referee.
Yep, very good.
So, Okay, but I got to give some tough love to one referee in Super Rugby too. I mean, there's one referee he's highly regarded too, also by many, which just goes beyond it, because pretty much Jaco Piper, especially when he referees South African teams, he gives them so many advantages. It's just ridiculous, but it's too obvious. It's too much. And also, what I don't like with Jaco Piper, you see, when he's starting to losing the control of the game a little bit, he gets a little bit too excited too. He can't calm it down, Instead, he gets hyped up himself, and start really telling off the players when you really shouldn't, There's no need for it, He's too almost threatening, with a yellow card way too early. A referee with when you have the supreme respect from the players, you don't need to threaten them with a yellow card. They know.
I think we should have more yellow cards. 15 yellow cards by the Tars. Sorry, 15 penalties by the Tars in the semi-final. 1 yellow card. 15 penalties by the Crusaders. 1 yellow card in the final. Yeah, we need to up the number of yellow cards because there's far too many penalties being given cynically when they don't need to be, and it's slowing down the. So I guess all the referees for not giving enough yellow cards, which is perhaps counterintuitive to what you're going to get in most press. But no, I think we need more yellow cards to get the players to behave more, because they will always push the rules, push the boundaries, and they need to be brought back into line and told to shut up. So yeah, I'll nominate all referees for not telling the players to shut up enough. That's my worst referee.
All right. So we agree that Angus Gardner is going to get the trophy.
Yep.
And maybe not a real trophy for Piper, just a little mention. Piper, do better next season, please. And don't mess up the rugby championship, please, Jaco.
Angus Gardner, if you fancy a certificate from DrivingMaul, get in touch. Otherwise, we're happy to give a certificate to all the referees en masse. To the refereeing association or whatever it's called.
We're behind them.
Oh, we love them to bits. Just be more officious. That's what we're kind of trying to say.
Yeah.
Shane, I know Herman's got about 5, 10 more topics. So have you got one you'd like to throw in before we go back to him again?
I'll switch back to you, Paul.
Okay, Herman, go on. I know you've
all right, I go. Okay, let me take this one, Bob. Most improved player since last season.
Oh, most improved player. I'm going to go for a player here now who you'd kind of say is going to be most improved player, because you can't call him a rookie. A rookie
doesn't need to be a rookie. Just someone who improved a lot.
No, I understand. This guy didn't even have a contract at the beginning of the season, and has now got himself a Blues contract next season. Played for the Chiefs, and I've gone. Basically, was
Carl. His name Carl. What is Big Carl? We can call him.
I'm going with Big Carl. Absolutely, a guy who has gone from being a club player who only went back to playing club rugby because basically he went to his doctor and said, "What should I do to not die?" And the referee, he's like, "Get fit, mate. You need to do more exercise." As a club bouncer, and ends up at the end of the season being, well, not even the end of the season, halfway through the season, goes from being a club player to being an All Black. Carl, through and through, most improved player, or perhaps most under-recognised player until then. But yeah, most improved player, Carl.
But good shout, Paul. What do you reckon, Shane?
Well, I'm going to go with Brendan Payanga Mosa, obviously from the Reds. This was a bloke, and I'm proud of him because he's a worker like me. He was a Garbo a couple of years ago, came through the Queensland Country NRC system with Brad Thorne, and this year became a Wallaby. And if you saw the real passion when he was singing out the national anthems during the Test series, you'll know how much rugby means to him. He's still got a lot of work to do, but he beat the best hooker, I think, in the world in Malcolm Marx, single-handedly in our win against the Lions, and it just shows you how far someone's come in a year or two of rugby. Go the workers, go the hard blue collar blokes. Well done, Brendan.
Good call too. Damn. I feel my nominee here is probably not gonna. You beat me both. Okay, but anyway, the guy I wrote up here is Jack Goodhue, who was good already last season, but for me, we talked about this before, but now when Rugby Championship is coming up, I'm sure he's gonna nail that 13 shirt in the All Blacks within 1 or 2 games. It's gonna be his, and he's gonna keep it until the World Cup. Damn, he's good, and he just gets better and better and better. So that's my pick.
Yeah, no, I was going to give an honourable mention to Jack Goodhue. A good one in the chat, Dame Phillinson, the young guy who is playing at fly half for the Stormers. I thought the Stormers were going to struggle this season because of their inexperience at scrum and fly half, but Damien Williamson has stepped up there. Yeah, he's had a much improved season on last season. If we're going to go for total rookies, and because Dantes for the Lions on the wing.
Yeah, Dantes. Yeah, he's definitely rookie of the year.
And if we're talking about other players, I've just gone absolutely blank. The big guy on the wing for the Tars to be top 20.
Naya Ramo or something. The Fijian guy. Naya Ramo.
Yep.
Naivoro
on the wing for the Tars to become top try scorer this season is a massive step up for him. I think he's stepped up big time. So yeah, big props to him as well. Yeah, those are the ones that kind of jump out at me as the most improved players this season.
I have two honorable mentions, two more here. I would like to get 2 Crusaders players. First one is someone who gets way too little props for his game. Is Cody Taylor, who's just getting better and better and better. And no one is really missing Dane Coles. It's going to be interesting now when Dane Coles come back in the end of the season here to see if the All Blacks really are missing him, or if actually Cody Taylor obviously don't have the same X factor, but when it comes to the core job for a hooker, I mean, he doesn't miss a beat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's a guy who I remember a couple of seasons ago. They had the test in Fiji, and they were saying, right, here's a guy who basically is going to get a one cap All Black because he's not in the final of the Super Rugby between the Hurricanes and the Highlanders, and therefore the only reason he's getting an All Black cap is because of that, and he'll get this one and never get caps again for the All Blacks. How wrong were all those commentators and pundits? Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, he's done brilliantly and has had a great career so far. And there's many years left in him. Let's be honest.
But I guess we already mentioned him in another category. But there's no way we can look through Richie Mwanga either when it comes to most improved player, because I mean he's improving by the week. It seems like almost.
And perhaps we're being a bit harsh here about not mentioning DMAC, because at the beginning of the season, a lot of people he was looking totally out of depth at 10, and then about halfway through to 3/4 of the way through the season was starting to look much more assured at 10. So another guy who's improved a lot in that position, if not his overall play, as well. So yeah, I'm going to throw him in there as an honourable mention.
That's a good call too. I think should we allow Shane to decide this one? Shane, you're the judge.
I'm going to throw another honourable mention in here because.
All right, one more.
Because I'm going to go on. If you were injured last season, didn't get to play, then if you play this season, then surely you're much better. So Brad Webber, who didn't play at all last season, and then keeps out the All Black squad member Triple T out of the team at the Chiefs. Does that make him most improved, as he did nothing last season because he was injured, and then has become the starting scrum half for the Chiefs? So perhaps back to what he was 2 seasons ago, but if you're talking season on season, massive improvement.
I agree.
So Shane, go on.
So Shane,
who's the man?
Who's your pick?
I'm going to leave the bias aside, and I'm going to go with Big Carl. I think that's
I agree with
that's
that.
a real feel-good story. Brendan would probably be a very close runner-up.
Yeah, no, fantastic for Big Carl. Come on then. An obvious category we've missed out so far. Try of the season.
Yeah.
So because I'm just going to go from modern memory because I've had a few.
Yeah, I know. Try for a season. I got it.
Dante's in the semi-final for the Lions.
Good call, but not good enough, Paul.
Oh,
My
okay.
call try the season is Marty Banks with the Brumbies away against the Sharks or the Bulls?
Hang on. Sorry, who?
Marty Banks try for the Brumbies away against the Sharks.
Marty
Tommy Banks.
They were 14 men, and he ran it from his own their own goal, try line.
So Marty Banks, the ex Hurricanes player who went to Treviso, is now playing.
No,
in Japan.
not Marty Banks. What is the name?
Tom Banks.
What?
Tom Banks.
Yeah. But do you remember what try I mean, Shane?
I think I know what you mean. Yes, that runaway.
Yeah. Oh, but he beat 7 defenders from 100-meter run, beating 7 defenders. 40. They were down to 14 men. That's pretty stellar.
Shane?
I'm going to go with a try that the Waratahs scored against the Highlanders in the home and away round. That went from the backs. I think Sikopi Kepu did a dunk pass, and then there was another pass, and it was beautiful. And the Waratahs, I think, completed about a 60, 70-metre try.
And I think we're going to have to go. So both myself and Herman have gone for individual efforts, moments of magic, whereas these tries should go to the team try rather than individual tries. So Waratahs wins that one.
Right.
As the group.
Yeah, fair call. But also, it's another category, and you already mentioned it a little bit there, because another category I have is the most magic moment of the season. It can be a try, it can be a penalty, it can be a tackle, it can be whatever. But it has to be one moment, a moment of magic.
Oh, there's been a couple of tackles that I can't remember them. I can't describe them but definitely there's been a few big hits that I enjoyed this season. And I'd rather it be that than a try personally. Shane, any kind of massive hit or magic moment you can think of?
I know it was very late in the season. It was actually your Blues, Paul.
No, the Blues can't win anything. No, they're not allowed to. They're doing too bad.
I, as people know from this program, I love anything that involves a penalty try, because you see some absolute wizardry in the forwards. The Blues get this one. They just ran over the Crusaders pack like a freight train and 3 trucks. That was the that scrum was on the first scrummage that they put in, I believe. And
all for that one, because
that was magic.
That was so unexpected as well. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that should be on the biggest surprise of the season.
Just from the chat, also in the last category, Dayongi versus the Bulls was for the Reds was a coast to coast try as well. Another one that's there. Alex has gone for a magic moment of the season. The Jaguares beating the Chiefs. That's a rather long moment, as in a whole game.
Yeah. I got to give my call
from a geological
too.
point of view, I get the idea of being moments, but not from a human point of view.
I got to give my magic moment of the season. I pick Hayden Parker's drop goal after the Hooter Sunwolves beating the Stormers in Hong Kong.
Big one, and there's going to be a couple here now that I'm going to come up with because Andre's pulled out something that is a big.
Are you sobering up now, Paul?
Well, there is that. I need to go get another beer. But the Crusaders acknowledging the Beasts' 150th game, making a tunnel along the Sharks' as they left the field. Also, perhaps the naming of the ground in Christchurch to Crockett Field, or whatever it's called, was another one for Crockett's 200th cap. So that was also a big moment. Christian's actually another bit. Yeah, biggest moment of the season was Haguai's winning 7 games in a row. That's a long moment. That's a very long over like 2 months. Well, actually 3 months, because it involved probably across the international gap as well. So yes, Wyatt Crockett Stadium was actually the correct name. So that's another big one. There have been there's a whole bunch of people still bashing Super Rugby, but I'll tell you, I love it. And there's been some great moments this season, and I hope you've got that over our coverage through the whole season. Is that that we don't agree with all this rubbish about Super Rugby on the downer. It may be, but we're going to stand up for it because we've had some great moments, had some great games, and we're loving it. So no winner, they're all winners. In a very
all right. Okay, next category. I think. Are you ready for the next one?
I'm a bit scared for the next one, but go on.
No. This is clean. This is clean. We get into a few more dirty ones soon.
No. Throw in the dirty one now, and we'll go back.
Okay, we put a dirty one in now. Okay, my favorite one here. The category: please die or at least resign.
Please die or at least resign.
So I might give my shout first to you, so you know what to build on. For me, it's the whole crew of the Fox Sport Australia. Awful commentators, awful. They ruin the experience of what we. I love Super Rugby too, but they do test my love a lot. They test my love a lot, way more than my girlfriend and my family do.
Okay, so you're right. The Fox, the Australian commentators are the worst across all the groups. They are the most partisan. They're awful.
It's a mile of side.
The other one is it's got to be though region restricting of clips and not allowing us to show clips on social media. Get real, guys. Let us show clips. Let us use a few logos. Or let us help promote the brand. Because Sanzar, you're not helping yourselves by having a go at us for showing clips and stuff on
very good call, Paul.
On social media.
I think like NBA is allowing their fans to take anything from the clips to keep the discussion free on social media. I mean, NBA does it. But Super Rugby, no, we cannot do it. Seems like.
Yep. Shane?
Look, I've had the great fortune when the NRC games have been played in my hometown to meet some of the Fox Sports crew, and they're great people. And I know Phil Kearns, the greatest hooker of all time, in my opinion. That is my opinion, obviously.
Very biased, I would say.
The best wallaby hooker of all time.
And you're entirely allowed your opinion, but I'm going to go with Jack here and say that Kearns and Kafer are the worst.
Yeah. I think Kearnsy probably, I think he probably hasn't had enough kangaroo meat on the barbecue to calm him down, and maybe needs a couple of Yenda crisps as well. That's a beer here in Australia, and there's an ad about that. But Rod Kafer is great, certainly a great player. Yes, a little bit overreactionary, perhaps, but generally, there's a lot of positive. Tim Horan is always a straight shooter. And I've always enjoyed listening to Greg Clark and Louise Ransom. who does a lot of the sideline work, is a total professional. So, I just wanted to put that defence in for the Fox Sports guys, having watched them every week. But in terms of...
I appreciate Kearns's his pride in the jersey, his support for the jersey, and that's all good. But when you're commentating, you need to be you need to be a little.
I can agree with what you mean.
You need to take the eye patch off a little bit, and that's my real problem with it. I don't get me wrong. I think I'm more than happy for him to be that passionate for Australian rugby, and I think Australian rugby needs that, but perhaps not on the microphone.
Mm.
That's my concern. All right, go on. Your nominations for please at least resign.
But Shane, you haven't nominated anyone. Anyone who just should resign in Super Rugby?
I've got some nominations. I've got some honourable mentions.
Please resign.
Cameron Clyde.
I think there's a lot of people that probably should resign from Australian rugby. But having said that, that's probably the best I've seen most of our sides play in 3 years. So, please think about your future more like it for me.
Okay.
The ARU board.
ARU board, right. Next up, the Blues board. Definitely die or resign, please. You're awful. The amount of pain you've caused me and Ashwin, more so Ashwin because he's been supporting you longer than I have, is just unbearable and inhumane. This should be going to the human. What's the one in? I've gone blank. See, good rants need people who actually know what they're talking about. The thingamajig Court of Human Rights in The Hague. It's disgusting what you've done to Blue supporters over the past decade. So yeah, you should be taken there, along with that guy who did all those atrocities, war crimes in Romania, wherever. Andre's gone. Robert Dupree in the chat resigned from the Sharks because they look like a club side.
No.
Oh, go on, Shane.
Look, I know that they were a bit of an underachiever this year, but they still made the finals. Any side that makes the finals and has a coach that gets them to the finals should be able to keep their job. I think he deserves another chance next year.
Okay, Andre's
the Sharks will be right, mate.
Andre, someone I know who helped me move house recently, at the beginning of the year. He's a lifelong Sharks fan, so I know where he's coming from. But I get where I understand where you're coming from too. There, the Sharks have underperformed this year. They still made the finals, but they weren't where we expect them to be by a long shot. Let's be honest. Their away form was absolutely woeful. Christian's gone for the Stormers coaching staff again.
That's a good shout out too. That's a very good shout out too.
I kind of agree there. Yes.
On the Stormers one, really? Okay, so for the Stormers, sure they didn't make the finals. Their away form was absolutely woeful. At home they did very well, and they lost to the Lions in one other game. But with a rookie halfback combination, I think a 50-50 season's not bad. When you've got a rookie scrum half and a rookie fly half that you're running with no experience in those two key decision making roles, I never expected the Stormers to do anything this season. So as long as they show improvement next year, I'll be happy with that. But the Stormers, yep. Mitchell,
I think Paul. I think you called the winner. I think as much I don't like the Fox commentary, the Blues board, they got to get this award. There's no way you're looking past that, is it?
Oh, probably not, but I got a few others. Actually, one of them who has resigned, Mitchell. Well done. Yeah, goodbye, mate. if you're going to go and ask
Well,
for all
not
that
for
cash,
not for you, Paul. Not for the English bloke.
well, yeah,
You know where he's going.
I'm not sure I want to see him in England, but for a guy who's come in, got rid of the experienced guys, said, I'm going to build from youth, and then turn around at the end of the season going, I want all this extra cash to buy players in. Where are you coming from, mate? That's totally against the philosophy you brought in there. A disaster, yeah. Not a fan of Mitchell. I think he went wrong there. Yeah, Robbie Fleck is under huge pressure at Cape Town.
All right, ready for it?
Go, next one.
Ready for another category?
Yep.
All right, most improved team.
Jaguares or Sunwolves. That's it.
All right. And you, Shane?
Oh, definitely the Jaguares. They come a long, long way. And when we talk about long, long ways, to win the double in Australia, then to go to New Zealand and win the double as well, that's a huge, huge achievement. We've already obviously chosen Mario as our coach of the year in terms of our most improved team.
Oh, buddy.
Wow. And love the orange jumper. Wish I could get one.
Actually, even me being like, I warm a lot to Jaguars, but I haven't picked Jaguars as the most improved team. Comparing to last season, for me, it's really easy. It's a Waratahs. They improved.
What?
I mean, they were the second worst team in the competition last year, or they were like in 16th place last year, looking terrible. And this season, I mean, for me, it's Waratahs. They are the most improved team of the season. Well done, Waratahs.
I was debating whether I was going to nominate their coach to say please resign because he's got so many wallabies, and yeah, to not totally dominate. Yeah, okay, no, totally disagree.
No, right. Okay, but I've been for the majority here. Jaguars then 2-1.
Yep.
All right. What else to add? Yeah, and then this is a little bit more open category, and maybe Big Carl could have, but we already picked Big Carl. You can pick him again. But if you have anything else in a similar, I have the category, the sunshine story of the season.
Clearly Big Carl's in there. I think that 7-game winning streak by the Jaguares, that was also a big sunshine story. For the amount of flack the expansion teams have taken, for them to go and do that, for the Jaguares to go and do that that was a big sunshine story. There. Carl, Shane, whilst I peruse and think of a South African one, what's anything from Australia?
In terms of a sunshine story,
yep.
Well, that's in Queensland every day. Beautiful one day, magnificent the next is the old saying there. And you ask any Queenslander, me included. But look, I think there's, from an Aussie point of view, just a basic improvement by the four sides is a heartening story. The fact that our sides won a few games against New Zealand opponents.
Wallabies looked really good against Ireland too.
Well, there was an unfortunate miscalculation on the final play of that game that.
Yeah, but performance-wise, they look good. They haven't looked that good in a long time, performance-wise.
Oh, absolutely. And I was going to point out, if the TMO ruled with us, we should have probably been in under the corner and won the series. But look, in terms of we're learning, and if you lose with use another Barry Fry's expression, if you lose with a bit of bollocks, I don't give a shite. So I don't
hope if you're nearly 2 hours in, you're probably not listening still with your kids. That's okay.
sorry for that.
No.
You know, I could not fault that effort. We'll be right.
Another one, Khaleesi being the
Yeah,
first...
that's my call too.
Oh, sorry. Go on, Herman.
How about let's do it. Yeah, Khaleesi being Springbok captain. It's very hard to look past that one. That's as much sunshine we're ever gonna get.
And I guess also the fact that it's some of the diversity, or whatever you want to call them. We're talking about Dantes being the rookie of the season, Williams stepping up as well. So it's good to see a more diverse, the diversity starting to come through in South African rugby as well. So hopefully, in future it's on merit, not just purely on quotas.
Yeah, good call. Good call. All right, we're almost finished here. I mean, this is a little bit tricky category, but this is more like give him a break. Like a player that takes way too much flack from both pundits and fans, but actually performs pretty well.
Oh no, sorry.
Who deserves
Shane,
a break?
I can think Shane's got one that he probably isn't thinking, but go on, Shane. Nominate Lance.
No, look, I'm quite pleased with his contribution. I think, look, I think this is a happy story because it has a happy ending, and I like happy endings for rugby. My old mate Rob Simmons.
Oh, good call. Good call. Very good call.
He copped, you know, he had a fantastic test series against Ireland. He, I think, was I know it's not a category here, but I think he was the signing of the year overall. What a move. It takes a lot of guts to leave Queensland and play for New South Wales, but, you know, I've got to say, when you do that and you have a good season and you play in a side that's won the national conference, you know, you put your hand up and you say, well done, mate, and well done, Rob. I really wish you well. That was a great year that you had.
Yeah, fantastic call.
Yeah.
Also, DMAC's been nominated in the chat by Alex. Yeah, there's kind of
he obvious... takes. Yeah, I mean, as soon as DMAC would like one mistake, you know, it's like there's a lot of people paying a lot of attention. Oh, he threw an intercept, yeah, but he scored 2 tries and 2 try assists, but he's thrown an intercept, you know. Like, okay. But the one I would like to nominate in this category is actually Bernard Foley, which I'm surprised that in Australia how many just keep flogging him, you know. And I think he's pretty good, you know. He's by far the best 10 in Australia, but still I read so much criticism about him. So that's my shout.
I think this is one that tends to get a lot of, because I'm going for Yanchis on this one. There's a guy who's taken his team.
He deserves it.
There's a guy who's taken his team to the Super Rugby final, beaten Bernard Foley along the way. And yeah, the guy who takes a lot of flack, again, for this, it doesn't have a Curtly Beale who steps in and does half the work for him that Foley does. So, yeah, this is, I say, 3 out of the 4 guys we've had mentioned are fly halves in this. So yeah, they are the most public facing of these players. So it's like the biggest. They have to make the most decisions or the most obvious decisions.
I probably have one more, but I think maybe it's everyone has accepted now, but there is a real change in this player. But one who came into the season with the worst reputation in Super Rugby was Lavanini in Jaguares, like being like the bug.
Yes,
and he had an excellent season. I mean, he was one of the best slugs in Super Rugby.
And who didn't pick up a yellow card every other game.
No yellow cards this season. Instead, like massive amount of line-out steals instead.
Yeah, no,
That's
fantastic.
Improved.
Yep.
He improved a lot.
So actually, he should be best improved player. Oh, you've got him in the wrong category now.
Yeah, I missed him before, I missed him, but we should have mentioned him there. We should have mentioned him there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other
Well,
players
I think
who pick up particularly a large number of cards or penalties, but yeah, none of them spring to mind at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, Paul, I think we're just about done here. We reached heading up to 2
Rob
hours
Simmons
here.
Gets that last category. That's fantastic call.
Cool.
There's a guy who took a lot of flack. So thank you, everybody. It has been a massive long show. If you want to know how do we chat off screen, pretty much like this. Because yes, we walked into this show with basically the preparation for this show was me texting these guys going, "Oh guys, it's late. Are we doing the show today? Please can we think of any awards you want to give, and we'll discuss it on show." Herman's done a fantastic job there. Thank you. But yeah, no, a little anecdote that people won't know about. But I was shopping in Auckland a couple of weekends ago, and Herman gives me a quick phone call to talk about rugby, and it's kind of like an hour later as I stand outside his shop, having talked rugby to him, and it's like, no, I've got to go and do my shopping. So yes, no, this is kind of what happens. We have a 2-second chat, and suddenly it's an hour later. So this is what you're having a fisheye into, or not fisheye? Is that kind of no? Anyway, whatever it's called. An insight into into my kind of non-working life. Is that yes, I will have a chat with one of these guys on Skype or a phone call, and an hour later I go, oops, I've just missed all my meetings. So thank you everybody who has listened for the past 2 hours. We have obviously overrun just a lot. Shane, thank you very much for joining me. It's been a blast again. Schoolermate on Twitter. Herman, thank you so much for joining us, having all the categories. Obviously, he is a social media ghost. If you want to talk to him, come on the show or in the live chat. I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul. Share, like, go on Patreon, give us millions of dollars, all of that kind of stuff at DrivingMaul on Twitter. Loving you all. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're still here, I'm amazed and well done. And loving you. I'll be back tomorrow night with the All Blacks show, and we'll be discussing the All Blacks squad for the Rugby Championship.